New at 5, a veteran who lives on Lake Eufaula is fighting to save his home.
This is a pretty crazy story. The Army Corps of Engineers says he has to tear it down by December 15th or they will do it for him. Fox 23 Spencer Humphrey talked with the man to find out what he's going to do.
Just seconds after a real estate agent let him inside.
It was basically abandoned. It had cobwebs off the ceiling a foot.
Cole Wheeler knew, despite its imperfections, this cabin on the shores of Lake Eufaula was home.
He opened the curtains on the main picture window, and I took one look and I said, sold.
That was back in 2009. In the 13 years since, the Vietnam War veteran turned chiropractor has spent a good chunk of his life savings getting the 55-year-old cabin back to its former glory.
I probably have a good $150,000.
It's his retirement paradise.
There's a stained glass sign on the front of the cabin facing the road saying Swan Song. I mean, this is it. The fat lady has sung. All I want to do is look at this gorgeous view and enjoy the peace.
But that all changed back in August. Cole and his girlfriend, Kim, had just returned back from a trip out of town.
Took a look out the window, and there was this huge dock.
To his surprise, one of his neighbors had put up a dock directly next to his property, blocking about a third of his view. He asked the neighbor, why there?
The Corps of Engineers allowed me to put this dock here because it has to be 300 feet from a boat ramp.
With that, he decided the best way to prevent any more docks from popping up along his property would be to apply with the Army Corps of Engineers for a dock permit of his own on his remaining shoreline. Last month, the Corps sent Cole a letter.
Dear Mr. Wheeler, this is in reference to your recent application for a private floating facility in Sunset Heights Division on Lake Eufaula. Your request has been denied.
The letter goes on to say some things on his property were actually on Army Corps of Engineers property.
A habitable structure, that's my home. B, a constructed two-person swing. The above-mentioned encroachments must be removed by December 15th.
He says an Army Corps of Engineers official visited his house, telling him if he didn't tear it down, they would, and they'd send him the bill.
Shocked, absolutely shocked. I mean, I developed an instant headache, stomach ache, and some chest pains.
Since I spoke to Cole last Thursday, the Army Corps of Engineers has put up no trespassing signs on his property. I tried calling the number listed on the letter to get some answers as to why the Corps of Engineers waited until now, over 5 decades since the cabin was built, to notify anyone that it was built on Corps property. Nobody picked up when I called, and I was not given an option to leave a voicemail.
You're dealing with an organization that is all-powerful.
Cole is now spending thousands of his own dollars to get the land surveyed to try to prove to the Corps they've made some sort of mistake.
I feel like it's a David and Goliath situation.
To try to save his retirement paradise.
You know, I've worked my whole life for something like this to retire to, and it's being threatened, taken away possibly.
Of course, I will continue to push to get answers and bring you those updates just as soon as I get them. Reporting at Lake Eufaula, covering news that matters, Spencer Humphrey, Fox 23 News.
Only on Fox 23 tonight, thanks to a story we first ran last week, the Army Corps of Engineers is pulling back on their original plan to tear down a retired veteran's home in Eufaula. Fox 23's Spencer Humphrey has this exclusive follow-up.
Last week, I told you Vietnam veteran Cole Wheeler planned to spend the rest of his life enjoying retirement from the cabin atop Lake Eufaula that he's called home for 13 years.
The fat lady has sung. All I want to do is look at this gorgeous view and enjoy the peace.
But that all changed when the Army Corps of Engineers sent him a letter last month after he'd applied to put in a dock.
Dear Mr. Wheeler, your request has been denied.
It went on to say that his cabin, which had been standing without issue for 55 years, was encroaching on Corps property and had to be torn down by this Thursday.
The above-mentioned encroachments must be removed by December 15th.
He told us a uniformed member of the Corps also visited his house, threatening more action than mentioned in that letter.
If you do not remove it, we will, and by law, we will send you a bill for that removal.
Well, since our story aired last Tuesday, it's caught the attention of lawmakers, including Senator James Lankford, Congressman Markwayne Mullin, and Governor Stitt, whose offices all told me they were looking into the situation. Now, Cole says he hasn't heard from any of them so far. Our story also evidently caught the attention of the Corps itself.
The morning after the story came out, I had numerous phone calls from the Corps.
He told them he'd prefer they communicate in writing, and Monday they hand-delivered him another letter.
This letter is being sent to inform you that the Tulsa District of the U.S. Corps of Engineers has decided to suspend the 15th December deadline established in the November 8th letter.
That letter goes on to say the Corps would not pursue the issue any further until they could complete some additional research on real estate documents and a survey of the property boundary, something Cole says they should have done in the first place.
They definitely failed to do their homework.
But the letter went on.
On November 8th letter wasn't as clear as desired regarding our intent relative to the habitable structure encroachment.
And despite what Cole says that uniformed officer who visited his house last month told him, the letter says the Corps has, quote, no intention of removing your home from the property.
They're backpedaling, otherwise known as damage control.
I tried calling Dean Roberts, the Army Corps of Engineers project manager who wrote and signed Monday's letter. But I got an answering machine.
Thank you for calling the Corps of Engineers Fort Gibson area office.
Now, Cole feels like he's won a major battle.
I'd just like to thank the support of the community, veterans organizations, Fox News.
But it's come at a cost.
I have brought in 2 different surveyors. I've paid for 2 different abstracts to the tune of $3,000 or $4,000.
He says he may have to take out another mortgage on his house, which he's had paid off for a decade, to pay for his legal costs should the Army Corps of Engineers keep pushing this further.
I hate to do so, but I have no choice.
It's worth it to make sure he wins any future battles that threaten his retirement paradise.
They started the war. I didn't. I want to finish it.
At Lake Eufaula, covering news that matters, Spencer Humphrey, Fox 23 News.
Following up on a story you'll see only on Fox 23, we're hearing from Senator James Lankford, who says he felt compelled to intervene after seeing our story last week about the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers demanding a Lake Eufaula veteran tear down his home. Fox 23's Spencer Humphrey brings us the senator's reaction.
It was last Tuesday when I first brought you Cole Wheeler's story about how the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers sent the retired Vietnam veteran a letter ordering him to tear down his decades-old house because it was apparently partially built on Corps property.
The above-mentioned encroachments must be removed by December 15th.
I told you he says uniformed Corps officers showed up at his door with further threats.
If you do not remove it, we will, and by law, we will send you a bill for that removal.
Then this Tuesday, I brought you the update that once my first story aired, the Corps sent Wheeler another letter.
This letter is being sent to inform you that the Tulsa District of the U.S. Corps of Engineers has decided to suspend the 15th December deadline.
They backed off their demands because, as it turns out, U.S. Senator James Lankford was watching my story and stunned by what was reported.
House has been sitting there for 5 decades. It's an absurd statement from the Army Corps they should have never made.
His office reached out to me the morning after my first story aired, asking if I could connect them with Wheeler to intervene.
We knew this was urgent because they'd given him just a week to say, get out of your house or it's going to be torn down. You have to tear it down or we'll come actually do it for you.
In the days that followed, his office held several talks with the Corps.
So we engaged in multiple levels, both with the colonel and the leadership there. We're working with the Army Corps of Engineers to be more reasonable.
It's a conversation he says feels strangely familiar.
Unfortunately, at Lake Eufaula, of the lakes that the Army Corps of Engineers covers in our region, we have more issues there than we have in any other place.
In the meantime, his office is still in talks with the Corps to bring Wheeler's situation to a final resolution.
He is not going to have to tear down his house.
Covering news that matters, Spencer Humphrey, Fox 23 News.